obese or has other risk factors for heart disease.
Okay, Pastor, I need you to
Certainly, an
speak
elevation in
can,
cholesterol is a very good reason to
so that he
be
can
even
check
more
on
committed
your.
to weight loss, increased exercise, and
Let us pray that
change in
this
diets,
morning's
moving away
show
from trans
will be
fats
a
and other
blessing to
fatty
all
kinds of foods.
who hear it
What we're concerned about is
and
whether
who are
elevations in
participating.
cholesterol in children
We pray.
Awesome. I can hear everyone nice and good.
long-term commitment to a
Oh,
statin.
amen.
Most
I
consumers
needed
don't
that.
know
Let's
that there has
do
not
that from
been
here on out,
studies done
please.
in children that give us a sense of what the benefit to risk
In this
relationship
prayer.
is.
With Check Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
WCBT 820 AM is proud to announce that we have been recognized as an LGBT business.
We have about 4 minutes before the show.
Okay,
Just a heads
thank you.
In Chamber of Commerce
Thank you
and our
very
local LGBT Chamber of Commerce of Illinois.
To be certified as an LGBTBE is no easy feat. It's a serious declaration of not only our proud ownership, but also our commitment to a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace and business community.
We are the first and only radio station in the country with an LGBTBE certification, and of that, we are especially proud.
WCPT 820 AM is a mission-driven station promoting DEI, environmental stewardship, and democratic politics.
We do more than just talk, we educate, inform, and enlighten, because in this over-communicated world, facts really do matter.
Our hosts are committed to our mission, as are our passionate and loyal listeners. We proudly celebrate LGBTQIA plus issues and initiatives 52 weeks a year, not just in June. Celebrate with us.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Joined in the war effort. They now make up 37% of the workforce, changing their role forever.
The prestigious Harvard Medical School is breaking ground today, opening its doors to new female applicants.
Today, little girls all over the world look to the sky, where the first woman is now in space.
Military stereotypes are challenged today with the trailblazing promotion of a U.S. female officer to 4-star general. It was just announced that the vast majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women.
We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at goredforwomen.org today. Brought to you by the ad.
Hi, Ms. Jackson. We have 2 minutes before the show, and I just want to confirm once again that we're having Georgia DeKalb County Commissioner Larry Johnson and Greg Palast on at 7:30, and then John Nichols at 7:35, correct?
Yes.
Consumer Reports.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you so much.
Says parents
Of course.
should proceed with caution.
And thank you for asking.
Testing is
Whenever
fine,
you're unsure, always
especially if
ask.
the child's obese.
Most definitely.
Has
Always
other
thing to do.
risk factors for heart disease. Certainly, an elevation in cholesterol is a very good reason to be even more committed to weight loss, increased exercise, and a change in diet, moving away from trans fats and other fatty kinds of foods. What we're concerned about is whether elevations in cholesterol in children justify a long-term commitment to a statin. Most consumers don't know that there has not been studies done in children that give us a sense of what the benefit to risk relationship is.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
WCBT 820
We got 60 seconds till the show.
recognized
Thank
as
you.
an
Let's have a
LGBT
great one.
business
Let the words of our
enterprise
mouths
to
and
the
meditations
National
of our
Gay
hearts be
Lesbian Chamber of
acceptable
Commerce and our local LGBT
in thy
Chamber
sight,
of
O
Commerce
Lord,
of
our strength and our
Illinois.
To be certified
Redeemer.
as an
Praise the Lord.
LGBTBE is no easy
All right,
feat.
everybody,
It's a
let's have a great
serious
show.
declaration of not only our proud ownership, but also our commitment to a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace and business community.
We are the first and only radio station in the country with an LGBTBE certification, and of that, we are especially proud.
WCPT 820 AM is a mission-driven station promoting DEI, environmental stewardship, and democratic politics.
We do more than just talk, we educate, inform, and enlighten, because in this over-communicated world, facts really do matter.
Our hosts are committed to
15 seconds.
passionate and loyal listeners. We proudly celebrate LGBTQIA plus issues and initiatives 52 weeks a year, not just in June. Celebrate with us.
Stand by.
PT 820, where facts matter.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can
can change the world. We can change the world. Change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Getting a little bit of an echo, so we're going to work that out. It's great to be with you today. Guess what? Raphael Warnock was triumphant yesterday in Georgia. What do you think about that? Opening up the phone lines, everybody. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Meet us on the Santita Jackson and Friends page over on Facebook, everyone. That's why I need you to become my friend. I can't go. If you find any other page, that's not going to work. Santita Jackson is just a landing page, and they're purging people every day, and I'm getting all these friend requests. Everybody, please go to Santita Jackson and Friends. That is where I can accept a friend request. And of course, meet us on YouTube, the Santita Jackson Show. We are talking about this incredible victory yesterday. This incredible victory. What happened, everybody, with in Georgia? It was not a rainy night in Georgia. It was just absolutely sunny. And so I want to know what your thoughts are. And I'm going to come right back up here on seven six three 9278. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts about this incredible election. I mean, it is out this camera piece and try and get back up here on the Santita Jackson Show. And so I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let us talk today about this incredible election, this incredible feat. Raphael Warnock has had to run for this seat several times, and he has emerged triumphant. He now has a full 6 years, to serve. So everybody call me at 773-763-9278. I want to know what you're thinking about this and what this means to President Trump. And did you see the gracious acceptance of defeat by Herschel Walker? I will say this. Of course, I was pulling for Raphael Warnock, Senator Warnock. But I am deeply appreciative of the graciousness and the maturity with which Herschel Walker accepted defeat. If we had seen that guy, who knows what would have happened yesterday? Because it was a close race. Now it was close, but I will tell you, I give credit where credit is due. And instead of inciting violence and stirring up a lot of bad feelings, he did not make you bitter. He made you feel better. And I thank him for that. Now let us move on to all the things that need to be done. We have so much that is on the plate. Dealing with voter suppression, we have got to do that. Just because people were able to endure these long lines and endure the gerrymandering and on and on and on, it does not mean that what Brian Kemp, Governor Kemp, and the Republicans have done in Georgia, that doesn't mean that voter suppression isn't real. It doesn't mean that it's okay. We're not supposed to have to overcome that barrier. And it is happening all over the country. It's not just happening to Black people in the South. It's happening to white kids in Maine. It's happening all over the country. So let's talk about that. Call me at 773-763-9278 and meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show over on YouTube. Santita Jackson Show. What'd you say, Joyce? Yes, he did. Oh, yeah, he did all of those things. And what did they say? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? You know, he's a preacher. Of course, having served, he's a senior pastor in the pulpit of Daddy King, of his son, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Boy, history has so much symmetry, does it not? Let's get right to the Santita Jackson Show. In Chicago, we'll have a high of 46 degrees, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 20 degrees. There will be snow. In the NBA, the Wizards will be playing the Bulls, and the Pacers will face off against the Timberwolves. In the NHL, well, the Devils shut down Chicago's team 3-0, and the Wild will be playing the Flames tonight. Well, we're coming on to the quarterfinals of FIFA of the World Cup. It is fantastic. You know, this is the biggest game in the world, everybody. In Morocco, what? They're in the quarterfinals. Wow, they have advanced. Portugal is advanced. Brazil is advanced. This is going to be very, very, very exciting. More and more kids are getting into that kind of football as opposed to American football. I know my nephews, they play international soccer. Wow. So, I mean, that's what they do. So let's get to some of these headlines, everybody. Senator Raphael Warnock won Georgia Senate runoff, according to all of these projections, delivering another rebuke, according to the CNN report, of President Donald Trump's influence after the defeat of his handpicked candidate, Herschel Walker. I want to hear what you think about that. I mean, was this a rebuke to President Trump? Call me at 773-763-9278. Or could a better, more polished candidate have mounted a greater challenge to Raphael Warnock? Oh, because they got some out there. They got some out there for you now. Trust and believe. And we're going to see more and more of them. And they will be Black, and they will be Latino, and they will be Asian, and they will be some of everything. All bets are off now, everybody. The Trump Organization companies were found guilty yesterday on multiple charges of criminal tax fraud and falsifying business records. A Manhattan jury specifically found that the Trump Corporation and the Trump Payroll Corporation were guilty on all charges they faced connected to a 15-year scheme to defraud tax authorities by failing to report and pay taxes on compensation to top executives, like apartments, tuition for their kids to go to school. That's kind of standard operating procedure in corporate America, but we'll see where all of that goes. Yesterday, police officers who responded to the January 6th Capitol attack and some of their family members pointedly declined to shake the hands of Senator Mitch McConnell and Congressman Kevin McCarthy as they accepted congressional gold medals on Tuesdays. Officers and the family of fallen officer Brian Sicknick, who died of a stroke the day after the January 6th tragedy. They shook hands with Speaker Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer as they accepted the medals, but quickly moved past McConnell and McCarthy. Wow, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Their loved ones will not be back, everybody. A sharp drop in oil prices this week is a good sign that prices at the pump will drop. Let us hope so. So everybody, let's get to some good news today. We do have good news. Before you get to that good news, this is good news when you see that this man has absolutely won this race. I'm so excited.
To introduce you to Dr. Lena Johnson McLean.
Oh my goodness.
She's a noted musician. She taught in the Chicago public school systems until retirement. She's a graduate of Spelman College, and she was my high school music teacher as I navigated through the first Chicago Public School System music major program at Kenwood Academy. She is also the niece of the father of gospel music, Thomas Dorsey. She wrote thousands of songs as well as cantatas, but one of her songs that stands out in my mind comes to challenge us this season. It simply says, "What will you put under your
Christmas tree?" I didn't know she wrote that.
Yes. Will it be gifts for the poor, love for the old,
Care for the weak? Oh, my goodness.
Will it be packages neat, candy to eat, or trinkets to glow under your Christmas tree this year? What will you put under your Christmas tree? Will it be packages neat, candy to eat, or trinkets to glow? Will it be things you can show, things you can hold, or things you can feel under your Christmas tree this year? Dr. McLean used the physical image of something we are all familiar with to make a spiritual point. During this season of giving and receiving, and throughout the year, it is important to make giving to those who need and will appreciate it most a top priority, as well as giving things you feel. Make people feel when they are in your presence. How you are making them feel can very well be your present. Instead of just making a list and checking it twice and catching all of the great sales that are in the stores this season, be a conscientious giver of things and yourself. If you will do this, and I believe that you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen to that. I love that. I did not know she wrote that song. My choir mistress, Mrs. Maddie Robertson at Whitney Young High School. That was our absolutely. That was our song. Oh, she had me in every singing group she could figure out.
Sunday.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, if you have any contact for her, please.
I certainly have it.
Oh, I've got to speak with her because Mrs. Maddie Robertson, she was absolutely, she was just such a, and she was impeccably turned out every day, and she expected us in the girls' chorus at Whitney Young to have impeccable manners and to behave, and I just felt that she was just, and I feel I will always carry her in my heart. What a wonderful, wonderful woman. And she was so patient with me because every time I had a solo for a big event, I'd get hoarse. Can you imagine? And examine that. Well, you know what? I just love you. And of course, you would have studied under Lena McLean, one of the great choir mistresses. Indeed, in the world of music, she has an international reputation, one of the great music teachers, voice teachers of all time. And of course, Pastor Vicky is one of the great, great singers, someone I've always grown up admiring. Just love her. Pastor at the St. Thomas Lutheran Church, an hour of power from 11:45 to 12:45 every Sunday at 80th. And Jeffrey right on the corner. And you can also go on Facebook and meet them. Sending you much love today.
Thank you. Much love to you.
Oh, much love to you. And that's right. Now you can get a little shut eye now that we've gotten through the Warnock win. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness. You know, Dr. Knighton, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I did not do what you want me to do, have good sleep hygiene. I wanted to see everything that I could last night with this exciting election. But I promise you, I'm going to Get a little bit of rest tonight. Get a little rest tonight. They're saying that, we are now in the midst of this moment that you said that we would come into, where so many people are dealing with the flu. They're dealing with COVID, but the flu is just, there's so many different strains of COVID and all of these other things. And, now they're telling you that you need boosters sometimes every couple of months. You're saying to us, and you keep underscoring, and I don't think you can emphasize it enough, how important it is for us to have good hand hygiene. I was stopped by several people yesterday who were shocked that fecal matter is on screens, on these screens, these touch screens that we're using, and just so much that we do not see. And so is it better? Is it more optimal when you're out to use hand sanitizer, or should you use soap and water? Should you use a bar of soap when you're out, or should you only use a bar of soap when you're at home? Help me with that.
So the good thing is that hand sanitizer does work. That hand sanitizer is put in place because what it does is it neutralizes germs, which means that a lot of germs, and I'm not going to say it does it for all of them, but for some of the heavy hitters of pathogens, which are deadly bacteria that are out there, it actually kills them or removes them, rather. And when I say kill, meaning like people will say, oh, well, it's better to wash my hands. But what it is when you're using hand sanitizer, you're actually neutralizing, which means that you are disarming the infectious diseases that are on your hands from being contagious of you making yourself sick or making someone else sick. So, and that's not just bacteria, that also viruses too. So it helps to deactivate the alcohol, and it helps to deactivate some of the illnesses, the illness aspect of it. I'm trying to explain it easy as I can, Santita. And so hand sanitizer does work, and it is a good mechanism to have in place when you do not have soap and water available. Also a good mechanism in place to have just if you do have soap and water in place. So let's say, for example, you in a restroom, friction, water, soap, that all matters. And then, of course, it also matters to completely dry your hands as well. And that's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. So I've actually seen it where people will go into a restaurant, wash their hands with soap and water, and there's no way to dry. So if you don't have anywhere to dry, let's say you done dried it on some clothes that are contaminated, or you walking around and your hands is wet and you done picked up something else, you done picked up that bacteria again. So or viral stuff again. So in that particular instance, it probably would be better to use the hand sanitizer, because at least you know you're going to rub it around with friction, and you know that it'll also hurry up and dry as well. So when I tell people, honestly, especially in this time, use what you can, and as long as you do it, I'm proud of you. Because right now, to not do it is more of the problem than it is to do it, because we're not aware of people's habits. I've seen people wipe their nose and touch the surface and not even realize they touched the surface until I told them. Because I don't know if y'all know, but I feel like my eyes can see packaging.
I think that your eyes can.
I'm serious. Like, I kid you not. I could be somewhere and I feel like it's floating around like, oh, that's nasty. Why they do that? And it's like you feel like you see the illness just floating around in the air. And it's not because you're intentionally trying to be nitpicky. It's just that, some of the habits for which people have, we can do so much better. And in this particular instance, people sneezing, coughing, the problem is not that we cannot do better. It's not that we cannot prevent illness. Issue is that we need to all carry an altruistic spirit during this holiday season, not just around giving gifts, not around giving money, not around giving resources, and not around giving germs, but really giving courtesy to not give germs, which means that when I come in contact with people, I'm actually going to protect myself, because I care about you so much, I don't want to make you sick. And if we all carry that mentality, then we would be in a better spot. But if everyone is coughing and sneezing and, oh, well, I got to go out and I'm still want to go to this party, or I still want to go to this event, or, oh, that wasn't a cough, even though you should use coffee to cover your mouth just in case it contains germs, then we would be in a better place. And so when we're looking at RSV, when we're looking at flu, when we're looking at COVID right now, all at the same time, the biggest challenge is right now we're not doing enough collectively in order for us to be able to protect each other from what it is that we may have. I always say, assume everybody has it. Assume everybody has it and assume you have it, and practice protection both ways.
Dr. Shanina Knighton, everybody. Go to Hey Dr. Nina, at Hey Dr. Nina. That is her handle. She will make you very aware, not paranoid, just aware. You all remember Bernadine Washington, that icon of radio? She said, be aware, be aware, be aware. Hey, Dr. Nina, sending you much love. Let's talk about what happened in Georgia. It was not a rainy night in Georgia. It was a sunny night. It rained there, but people kept on voting. Back in just a minute. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, honey, doing great this morning. Doing great. Praise the Lord. Doing great. It was interesting watching Herschel Walker's speech last night. He was really gracious, and I really appreciated that. Because he could have gone in a whole different direction, and he did not do that. And I really appreciated that. But I think what we're going to have to watch out for, you're going to have you have more Black Republicans who've gone to Congress, who'll be going into Congress in January when my brother goes, than we've had ever before. That's going to be interesting. And we are going to see, and one of them is a family friend from Detroit. His uncle lived 2 doors down from us. They're wonderful family. And I just, our politics are becoming much more nuanced. And I think we have to begin to ask some real questions, because complexion does not change direction. That's not what that means. And we just have to be real careful.
We got it in you.
Hi, Miss Jackson.
Yes.
I have Chaparral Wells ready to go. I called Secretary Reverend Thomas. I went straight to voicemail, so I'm going to call her again in a moment.
Okay, just keep calling. I'm going to hold on one moment, please. I'm going to send you another number of someone you should call now. Okay.
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 Okay, just give me one.
But it's the expectation. It should be the expectation. I think the expectation is that you should have class after you're done with the election to be able to mend things together, opposed to being a sore loser. And I think sometimes we have to acknowledge, when yes, things may have not gone in our favor, but it's bigger than us. And sometimes I just don't think that people in politics recognize that. And I think I mentioned to you this before, but when my kids came home and they told me that they had did pseudo elections at school to exercise, the democratic process or democracy, it was very disturbing to learn how the election ran, when my daughter's telling me they were tearing posters down and they were, belittling their peers and hurting their feelings and stuff, and not her directly, but the things that she observed. And what I said to her.
All right, Miss Conway's ready to go.
I said,
we have about a minute and a half before the show starts. I'm going to try calling the person again real quick.
I just keep trying. I'm sorry. I'm doing a couple of things. I'm sorry, Dr. Knighton. I'm going on to my next No sound. Do we have sound now, everybody? Hold on. I want to make sure that the audio is right. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Dr. Knighton. You know what? I am having a heck of a time with StreamYard. What is this?
The Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. This stream keeps jumping around, but we're going to keep on going at it. Everybody stay with me on YouTube and on the Santita Jackson and Friends page, AM 950 Radio and WCPT 820 in Chicago. Momentous, everybody. Now the Democrats have a clear majority in the U.S. Senate. They're going to be able to get federal judiciary appointments through. That is how Republicans have been able to stack the courts, because they've had the majority in the U.S. Senate. That changes. This is a game changer, everybody. But this is also the first African American who is elected to the U.S. Senate from Georgia. When people say that we have not made progress, that is not true. It's just slow going. And the healing is so deep. It has to occur on so many levels. Everybody has got a leg to run in this race. So what are you going to do? Don't say, we haven't done. No, Dr. King did his job. Reverend Jesse Jackson did his job. Andrew Young did his job. Okay. Hosea Williams, James Bevel, they did their jobs. What are you going to do? Fannie Lou Hamer did her job. Dorothy Height did her job. Cesar Chavez did his job. What are you going to do? That's the question. Cesar Chavez almost starved himself to death trying to draw attention to the least of these. What are you going to do? That's one of the questions. What are we going to do about voter suppression now? Because as Raphael Warnock, Senator Warnock told us last night, yes, let's celebrate right now. And while we're having this mountaintop moment, yes, let's do that. But tomorrow morning, we must go back down into the valley, because in the valley, that is where we have voter suppression. You shouldn't have had to wait for 2.5 hours to vote in Black neighborhoods. That should not have happened. Now, we overcame it because we over-indexed in the vote. We decided we were not going to be defeated. We've always done that. But this kind of injustice has to stop. That's the work that we have to do as we wake up in the valley. We got another mountain to climb and another mountaintop to hit. But we're going to continue to go into a valley and do the work and keep on climbing higher mountains every day. All right, everybody, call me at 773-763-9278. I want to know what your thoughts are about what happened last night. I want to know what your thoughts are. Opening up the phone lines. I want to know what your thoughts are. And what does this mean to President Trump? A lot of people are saying that this was like the death knell to him. I don't think so, because he has been winning most of the races, even though I don't know why the corporate media are doing this. They're misleading people. Go to Ballotpedia, everybody. I've posted it. And I'll repost it. He's won about 90% of his state races. So he's been able to stack the deck in states from coast to coast. So when people want to contest the election, he has the people in place who will help to facilitate that. Think about that, everybody. Think about it. And last night, it was a tight race now. It was a tight race. If the Herschel Walker we heard last night was the Herschel Walker we might have heard, that we could have heard during the campaign trail, we might have had a different outcome. I'm just saying. Because a lot of people were too embarrassed to vote for him. Before we get to you, or Aaron Connolly, let's talk about some vittles. from celebrations by us. I know you'll have something to say about this race, but let's talk about these vittles first, because we are in the holiday season. I can't believe we're just a couple of weeks away from Christmas, but it's true.
Yes, we are, Santita, and we are up and busy. So give us a call at 708-526-4546. We can handle all of your catering needs, whether it's your turkey, your dressing, your ham, as well as your mac and cheese, your spaghetti, lasagna, Cajun pasta, our sweet potato pies, our caramel cakes, red velvet cakes, peach cobbler, banana pudding, whatever it is that you need for your holiday table. Don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546. We're taking limited orders for Christmas, so please get your order in today. Thanks so much, Santita. We appreciate your support.
Okay, excited about what happened in Georgia?
I am. But it's much closer than I expected. I mean, a win is a win. What we learned is that if we vote, we can win. And so I think that this was, Black folks came out and they showed out. And I think the Democratic Party needs to give us credit for that. And they need to push some of those voter protection laws and agendas. And I think that it was way closer than I expected it to be.
I don't know why. Wait till they bring out these Black Republicans who share your social values.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, because Black people are socially very conservative. Everybody, let us not be fooled by that. We are not liberal at all. We're not. And we get moved into the progressive space because, when people say that, people in the Black church, you're homophobic. No, there are gay people everywhere. And, you ain't going to mess with so-and-so's child, their son, their daughter. You ain't going to do that. That's just not going to happen. Now, and people have all kinds of feelings about all kinds of stuff because people do everything. But I'm just here to tell you where these Republicans are going. When you heard Donald Trump's announcement speech, Aaron, just a few weeks ago, he said, I have grown the party. I have brought more Black people in, more Hispanics in, and guess what? It's true. And they're going to find you have a young man, Congressman James, out of Detroit. He's from a very well-respected Black family. And when you hear him talk, he's going to get some votes. So you're surprised that it was so close. And I think we need to beware that it was so close, Chaparral. I think we need to look at that. What did that say to you that it was so close?
The Democrats got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of work to do because, like you say, if it was somebody a little bit more polished, a little bit more palatable, as they say, they would have ran away with the race. Georgia is still a red state. Let's not get it twisted. Mm-hmm. Let's not get it fooled. Let's not be fooled by this. It is a red state. And if it wasn't for Atlanta, literally, he would have walked away with it.
Well, Atlanta's blue. You see, it's like you have Chicago and you have Illinois. Mm-hmm. You have Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You have Georgia. You have New York, and you've got Staten Island. I haven't even gone into the rest of the state. Staten Island is diametrically opposed to the politics of Manhattan, the boogie down Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, much of Queens. You can almost put many parts of Queens in the Staten Island basket. I think we just have to be very, very clear on that. And be very clear that the Black vote, don't take it for granted. And don't think that Black folks will stay over in this space. You're seeing Black men go over to the Republican Party. I think we need to look at that. But I will take this win because I think that, also our Reverend Dr. Warnock is eminently qualified, but he also culturally is a great fit with Black people. He's a minister who is a Morehouse man, Alpha Phi Alpha, all of that, deeply conservative. That is where Black people are. It really is. And a lot of Black people came out and voted because they said, I don't want Herschel to represent us. I'm just giving you our own conversation over here. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278 and let's talk about this because it was a close race. It was close. It was close, but it's a win and I'll take it. Aaron Connolly, you said your nerves, you had to go to bed.
Ooh, I was sick to my stomach watching these returns. Oh my goodness.
Do you remember when the night turned, when they said, oh, no, not from a likely winner to, well, it's too close to call. I thought I was going to pass out.
Yeah, the back and forth was stressful. I know I was not the only one. Millions of Americans were gritting their teeth and holding their hands together, praying. People that do not pray were praying yesterday, as I saw many folks commenting on Twitter. But as Chaparral said, and as the map shows us, not only did Atlanta come through, the surrounding suburban counties came through. The Democratic bright spots in some of these more rural counties showed up in greater numbers than in the midterm election. We saw the University of Georgia show up for Reverend Warnock, and there were some games outside.
Oh. Aaron Connolly? Okay, what happened to Aaron? Okay, let's see what happened to her.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
I lost you for a second. Sorry, my signal cut out. I'm sorry.
No worries.
To a different signal. So what we saw was the numbers in those rural counties not coming in as they needed. Democrats showed up in places where they maybe didn't show up in the midterms, and the numbers support that. We saw the University of Georgia come through, which should have been Herschel Walker's stronghold as well. So there are some bright spots for the Democrats here. And what we owe that to are great organizers like Black Voters Matter, like the Transformative Justice Coalition. And I want to give Stacey Abrams some of this credit too. She's built a strong organizing apparatus in Georgia for many years that did register and talk to many of these voters. And that is part of the infrastructure that led to that win as well. But the reality is here, this was the most expensive Senate race that we saw. Over $400 million spent on this race. And what we saw in the runoff portion of it was Warnock was able to fundraise over 2-to-1 from Walker and was able to mobilize money and people in that 4-week sprint in a way that the GOP could not keep up with. And so the credit goes to those organizers, to the folks that were ready for this, that had been in this battle before and knew how to get it done. But we have to talk about the money. Where did that money come from? Who is supporting a candidate like Herschel Walker that is an admitted abuser, that is violent?
But nobody cares about that.
What message does that send?
See, I think one of the things that was revealed, and it's not been revealed. I mean, we can now talk about it even more openly because we live in a time in which so much that's been whispered about Aaron is now discussed openly. And you can call people conspiracy theorists if you want. Look, I didn't build mistrust. Somebody else did that. It was just weeks after John F. Kennedy was killed, the overwhelming majority of Americans didn't believe the official story. They didn't believe just one guy stood in a building and shot this man, and nobody believes it years later. Nobody. They'll be talking about that because they just released some more of the papers. They just need to stop. But what we're looking at, it really is. It's about power. We were watching power. And really, people will put anybody in a seat in power. You saw that when we lost Paul Wellstone in that plane crash, when he was really the person who stood against us going into Iraq. We lost a whole lot. And then they put in this puppet Republican. Remember Norm Coleman? He couldn't even hold on to the seat. This is power. And, a lot of the candidates who are presented to us are manufactured. They just think they are. I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, we don't, you have someone like Raphael Warnock who's organic. He comes from the community. It was a people's draft. And he is free enough and has enough organizing capabilities that he was able to organize people and move on in 2020, shockingly, right? But I think we just have to look at, please, if let these Republicans come up with a black person, a black man who used to be a Democrat, okay? Someone who can really, really drill down on the black community, and it's going to be a different day. They're doing it with the Latino population too. You've got at least one of these young women, Latinas, who's now in Congress. She's a right winger for real. I'm like, it's not shocking. That's the culture, Aaron. So I think we have to really drill down on what it is that we're looking for.
But we have to see through that, and we have to, nobody likes to come out and say that necessarily, that we're not, we don't like to have that conversation as much as we should.
Well, honey, you're on the Santita Jackson show. Now, we're going to do that here.
But come on. But that's, when we saw some of these exit interviews yesterday of younger folks, of folks, like you said, that you wouldn't think would be a typical Walker voter, the reasons that they voted for him were just so basic. And I think there is an opportunity, at least with the next generation, to dig in some of these strategic pieces and say, you're being played. That this is not even a second option. This is a billionaire putting up a person who will do their bidding. This isn't even the football star you think it is, right? Mm-hmm. So I hope we can have some of those deeper conversations as the GOP gets more desperate and doesn't care about vetting candidates that are qualified to represent the folks in their districts or in their state.
But I think he was vetted. Aaron, that's why my dear sister, I respectful.
He was vetted for exactly what they wanted.
Because the thing is, he is a football icon. And people whisper in the streets about everybody's business. That's what closets are for. Everybody knows ain't nobody completely clean. Okay? So we can just hang all of that up. Nobody is. Everybody has something they do not want discussed on this microphone. So and that's why I think that some of this stuff that we disqualify candidates for is just foolish. Someone's personal life, please get out of here. And with all the things that we saw about Herschel Walker, no one really cares about that. The evangelicals forgave him. Stay right there, Aaron. They forgave him. They said, "We hallelujah." I can't make this up. Margarita. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
It's Marquita.
Marquita. Oh my goodness, we were way off here. But I'm going, Marquita. How are you?
Okay.
No, it's not my girl. My name is not Santita. It's Santita. So I want to get it right.
Oh, no problem. Get it. Well, couple of things. I felt that it shouldn't have been as close, but just following politics. And see, this is why our education system is so backwards now, and why we need to have civics even at the elementary level. Even though I was never really interested in politics, but I understood as time went on how politics is always going to be with us. Mm-hmm. Even the Bible speaks about politics in a way. And just taking a deep breath, because I was sick over the weekend and I really didn't need to get my system out of whack, but I didn't even really watch. I couldn't, because those numbers was just in numbers. Mm-hmm. People feel my vote don't count. Yes, it does.
Every last one.
Every last one, down to the simplest drop. And I'm just going to say this. What we as the Democrats need to do is to stay on the ground, knocking on those doors, talking to your neighbors, talking to your family around the table, because it's going to only get even much brutaler, as that's the word to say, as we progress. because it's about power.
Well,
And
you know
when you
what? I think what we
understand about
but stay right there because I don't want you to leave yet. Please don't. I think what we also have to understand is that the election is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. Now we have to lobby. See, we have to push for the codification of our voting rights. Since the Supreme Court gutted it, we must demand now that Biden give us an executive action on voting rights, number one. And then we have to lobby both houses of Congress and our state houses to make sure that we have our voting rights. Because voter suppression, I'm so glad that Senator Warnock went right to voter suppression because that was a real problem. If he did not have an excited electorate, specifically excited Black folks and the AAPI community, I mean, he came up with a rainbow. But that's what we've been talking for more than Dr. King talked about it. Reverend Jackson did it. And we've been doing this for decades. The fact is, it's not just about Democrats because you're going to agree with the Republicans on some things, quite frankly. And I'll give them kudos on that.
Yeah.
And I'll work with you because see, whoever is in office, they're going to be my president, my senator, my U.S. representative, my secretary of state, of the United States or of my state. Whoever it is, whoever gets elected, you work for me, and I'm gonna make sure you work for me. How about that?
And see, this is the thing that we see. 45 says I'm never gonna give him the title. But 45 was a wake-up call for all of us on both sides of the parties, especially the citizens. We had just gotten too complacent, and it's a two-way street. And now you got more billionaires. You have more people of color that has acquired this level. And it's just a myriad of issues that we need to address. It doesn't have to be a great divide like it has been, but we can do better in this country.
Well, we can do
better.
What we can do. The thing is, this stuff didn't start with Trump, though, Marquita. And I think we have to deal with that because even when I look at Liz Cheney and all these people who say they don't like Trump, it's personal for them. Because what Trump did was walk into the Republican Party and he gutted it. He did, honestly, what Jesse Jackson did, what Bernie Sanders did. He brought people to the party and he upended the party. But what Reverend Jackson did not do was destroy the party. Trump went in and tore it up. Liz Cheney voted with Trump more than 90% of the time. And all these people who get up here and they say how much they dislike him, it's personal. See, I resent that because they're playing a game with us. Because everything that he stands for, all of the aspirations and needs of the oligarchy, these people support. Not to mention the fact that Dick Cheney stole the election. Hello, girl, come on. You remember 2000? Come on, they stole it, and we want to look at January 6th. I'm looking at these kids who put on their Brooks Brothers suits and their polos and their Izods, and they were harassing those people who were trying to count those votes down in Florida, physically threatening them. And then they took it to the Supreme Court. And then you had the guy who was running, his brother was the governor of the state that was disputed. I mean, are you all for real? And you don't want to talk about that, and you just want to talk about Trump, but you want to forget that. You're going to make him respectable a million dead Iraqis later. Girl, I'm going to give you the last minute. I can't do it. I'm like, if you either you don't like Trumpism, either you don't like people who favor corporatocracy, don't talk to me about Trump anymore. And you know what? Honestly, if I want people to respect President Obama, and I absolutely do, I'm going to give President Trump his due, because guess what? They lie about his supporters too, girl. Because guess what? 2/3 of his supporters made $50,000 a year or more. They keep saying that he got the uneducated white people. That's a lie. Most white people in America voted for him. That's a fact. And a chunk of black folks did too. Yeah, it did. That happened. Yes. It's just the numbers.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot in this process, and unfortunately, because your average citizen has to just focus on day to day, they are not that in tune, and that's where, like I said, we still have to be on the ground, be door to door.
Absolutely.
We still have to constantly talk it up. And thank you so much for what you do, because it's a lot of sacrifice. And I will continue to listen and pray for you guys.
Girl, you are so sweet, and I thank you. All I try to do as we go to this break is give us information. That's what I'm trying to do. And you have to divorce yourself from your emotion and just come up with the numbers. That's why when they say, oh, Trump is losing, that's a lie. I went to Ballotpedia, which is an independent resource that counts votes. He won almost 90% of the people he put up. They won. So the infrastructure to dispute elections is in place.
And see, the thing about this.
Well, no, hold that thought. Let's talk during the break.
Not,
no, stay right there. Let's talk to the break. You know, gotta pay some bills. Stay right there. Don't leave. Stay right there. Stay right there, everybody. We're continuing to talk about this election in Georgia, everybody. I want to know what your thoughts are. Greg Palast is coming up, and so is John Nichols, and DeKalb County Commissioner Larry Johnson is going to join us again. It's going to be hot on the Santita Jackson Show. Call us at 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. I got you. Keep on talking. Now you're on Facebook Live now, okay?
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say, oh Jesus, I got to calm down now because I didn't think I was going to talk.
Hi, Miss Jackson.
But
should I still be trying to call Reverend Regina Thomas?
Yes, please.
What I was going to say, this is not something that has happened overnight. This has been in progress for years. And that's why those of us that are intrigued by this process, we have to constantly do our homework and constantly dig and see. The media, unfortunately, has the big, strongest hold on your citizens, but citizens have to get wiser now. They really do. And there's a lot at stake as far as just being right. I mean, the homelessness, when we look at the homelessness, there should be a solution. People should not have to be living out in the elements as they are having to live in the elements of today.
Oh, they could solve homelessness. They could solve it just like that. You know, what you can stop doing is having all these wars every place and bring this money home.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Well, look
no, I mean, and turn the soldiers into peacekeepers in the United States. If you're going to train these soldiers to be communications experts, to be technologically savvy, I mean, Aaron, join us. I mean, if you're going to train these soldiers to have all these skills and you want to use them for war, why can't you use them for peace? Hello?
Yeah. And why aren't we giving them reasonable medical care when they come home? And
wait.
The GI
reasonable salaries.
Not making them fight for it.
What about reasonable salaries? Because you have payday loan centers on the edges of most bases because they don't make enough money. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. They don't. They don't. And they're forced into other ways to make money. They marry young in order to get more money for their family. We need to support our. That's one of the key issues. I think we do not focus on enough in this country because the burden is not shared across our country. It's primarily low income, working class, many immigrant families, Black, brown. First generation folks, and folks like my sister who come out of college and say, I want to serve because I was the second person in my family to go to college and I want to do this duty for my country, right? But that burden is not shared enough. So we ignore those folks, especially when they come back from war, because we don't like thinking about that we participate actively in that process of hurting others, and we don't want to look that in the eye when it comes back.
Because they call that moral injury.
The majority,
right?
Yes.
You know, because I think what we have to do is also expand our concept of service. Teachers serve. Nurses serve. The frontline workers are in service. Anyone who is working in the society is in service. We've become militarized in our thinking, and I say that as the granddaughter of veterans. My grandmama and grandfather are buried at Arlington National Cemetery today. And the military was a pathway to a working middle class background for my mother and her siblings. It got them all got my grandmama a job at the VA. My grandfather came out of the Navy and then worked as a mailman. I mean, I think we have to expand service. You know what service really means. You know, let the garbage workers go on strike, right?
And what about the caregivers?
Yeah, all
what
of
about
it.
the caregivers that support not only the troops, but support the elderly and aging population, where we have folks that are not paid, or if they are paid in some
They're not
way
paid
through
enough.
VA programs,
Most of these
giving up
people
their
who care
lives
for our children are on welfare. ProPublica had a report about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what? You know, and you want to talk to me about service? Wait a minute, if you really cared about these enlistees, you pay them something.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have to go to a payday loan center at the edge of a base, and the payday loan centers are positioned at the edges of bases because they know these folks don't make enough money to get from paycheck to paycheck. Stop playing with everybody. Just stop it.
Yes.
And I should not have to be trained to kill somebody in order to be of service to my country. That's not right.
About 2 minutes.
It's not right.
Well, thank you once again. I'm going to hang up because I'm just going to listen to you, ladies. And thank you once again.
Well, you know we love you, girl. And thank you. Now, see, was it that bad to call in?
No. Thank you.
Where are you?
I'm a listener, though. I'm here in Chicago. I work for Congressman Davis. So
please tell him I love him today.
Oh yes, definitely. So
and tell Crystal I love her.
I sure will. And you guys be blessed and stay safe.
Oh, now you can exhale.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Oh my goodness. You know, Congressman Davis, speaking of service, before he got to Congress, he was a community organizer. All the stuff that he's doing as a congressman, he did for free. He did without pay before he got to Congress.
Back in a little over a minute.
You know, so I think we have to change we have to really be very clear. You know, Eisenhower said, wait a minute, the military-industrial complex will have an impact upon us materially and spiritually. We got to watch this. Either way, it'll be a civilian society or not, Aaron. I mean, what is it?
And I encourage everyone to read Dwight Eisenhower's personal biography. There is so much rich history and wisdom in that. Even as a Republican, I think it is a good start for young folks to read in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's been on my reading list for a while, and
I'm gonna
at
get
times
that.
where I find less than hope, I go back to it and find I always find something new in his
back in 15 seconds
life and his focus on service, right? This idea of servant leadership that you talk about, where the person's been already doing the work. Have they been in the community doing it for free, living their values? Who are they putting first? Is it themselves or is it you?
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. It is Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, is my home, as is AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, sending all of our love to all of our veterans everywhere. Those who are active duty soldiers and those who have served in the past. Of course, today is the day that will live in infamy. Today, 81 years ago, Pearl Harbor was attacked, and it pulled America into the Second World War. And God bless them all. God bless them all. God bless us all. We need to study war no more. Pray that one day we will get to a place where war will be something that we'll say, war is over. Thank you, John Lennon. Like, what is that? Pray for that. But in the meantime, we thank God for those who serve us in this way. And God bless you today. December 7th, 1941, 81 years ago, was when Pearl Harbor was attacked. I'm Santita Jackson. Let's talk about what happened in Georgia. We're going to have Greg Palast. Of course, you can see his movie. I think that was yesterday, but go to gregpalast.com so that you can see Vigilante, the movie. It is fantastic. It is an incredible feat achieved by Theo Warnock and the people of Georgia. The fact that they overcome massive voter suppression to deliver this win to Georgia, to the U.S. Senate, but more than that, to our country. This is the first African American elected to the U.S. Senate from Georgia. We have made so many great changes in the United States. Have we made all the changes we need to make? No. Has the healing gone as deep as it's going to need to go? No. I can't wait for us to say that about Indigenous people, getting them to the U.S. Senate. We need Kim Teehee seated right now. It's been almost 200 years. That Treaty of Achota was approved in 1835, 187 years. Excuse me, how many years will you cheat the Cherokee people out of their seat in the U.S. House of Representatives? How many years? We want justice for everybody, for everybody, for everybody. And when you help the least of these, you will help everybody else. Think about that. My mother often says, you can't help me, you can't help somebody else without helping yourself. Think about that, everybody. So call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let's talk about this tremendous victory. We've got Aaron Connolly. We're going to have Greg Palast. We're going to have DeKalb County Commissioner, Larry Johnson with us, and we're going to have one more person, but of course, that escapes me at the moment. But it's going to be a great show. John Nichols is joining us to give us really a sense of what we saw yesterday, because it really is incredible. But Raphael Warnock said, while we're having this mountain moment, tomorrow morning we got to go back into the valley because we got to deal with voter suppression. So let's get to some of these headlines. In Chicago, we'll have a high of 46 degrees, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 20 degrees, snow. NFL, a rare night where there was no game. All right, everybody, in the NBA. The Wizards will be playing the Bulls. The Pacers will be playing the Timberwolves. In the NHL, the Devils shut down Chicago 3-0. The Wild will be playing the Flames tonight. And while Morocco and Portugal have advanced, they are in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. It's going to be exciting. Everyone is talking about what happened in Georgia. Warnock defeats Herschel Walker in Georgia, giving Democrats a clear majority in the U.S. Senate. It is going to be monumental what that means. There will be no more power sharing between Senators Schumer and McConnell. Now the majority leader, flat out, full stop, in the U.S. Senate is Chuck Schumer. That's right. No more dancing to or dancing with Mitch McConnell. Enough of that already. 2 Trump Organization companies were found guilty on Tuesday on multiple charges of criminal tax fraud and falsifying business records. Yesterday, police officers who responded to the January 6th Capitol attack and some of their family members pointedly declined to shake the hands of Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy as they accepted congressional gold medals. In this case, Brian Sicknick's family accepted his medal posthumously. It's the highest honor that can be awarded to a citizen by the U.S. Congress. And officers and the family of Brian Sicknick shook hands with Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Schumer, but they quickly moved past Senator McConnell and aspirant Speaker Kevin McCarthy. All senior congressional leaders were participating in the event to honor the U.S. Capitol police officers, Washington, D.C. Metro police officers, and others who responded during this riot, everybody. Wow. What a moment, what a moment, what a moment. And oil prices this week could be a good sign for everybody. These gas prices ought to drop, but they have been lifted arbitrarily, right? You do know that there is no justification by these gas companies to raise these gas prices. No, they're doing it because they're price gouging, and the Democrats need to deal with that. Those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Before we get back to Aaron Connolly, and we'll be talking with Greg Palast and Commissioner Johnson out of Georgia, as well as John Nichols, let's talk about financial freedom. You know what? Do you have a credit card? Are you using your debit card because you don't have a credit card? You need a plan. You need a plan. You might say, my credit is not good enough for me to get a credit card. Well, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And if you get a plan, you will be able to get that credit card. If you get a plan, you will be able to buy that house. If you get a plan, you'll be able to save that house. You'll be able to secure loans. You'll understand the financial products that are available to you. And you'll have an advocate who will help you to get what you need to save your home, to get a credit card, to build your credit, rebuild your credit, all of that. And that's Team Hochberg. I want you to call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go to 56david.com, 56david.com, so that you can get what you need from them. Let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to call them and you're going to have a free consultation. And when you tell them everything and they've heard it all, then they'll come back to you with a plan. That's what you need, everybody. Tom and Sonia had 17 credit cards, $100,000 worth of debt on those credit cards, and they were struggling to pay their mortgage. They reached out to Team Hochberg because they said, this sounds too good to be true. Team Hochberg heard them out, and then they were able to come back with them a plan, come back to them with a plan that got them an FHA loan, brought down their credit card payments by over $2,800 a month. They were able to hold on to some of those cards. They didn't need them all, and they kept their home. So that could be you. It's happening to a whole lot of people. Don't feel embarrassed. Call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or call them at 56david.com, 56david.com, so that you can get what you need and get on the road to financial freedom. All right, everybody. Warnock warns about voter suppression in Georgia just because he won. Just because he won, and he's telling you, hey, I had this mountain moment. We are having this right now. But be very clear. We need to go back to the valley in the morning and deal with voter suppression. And Tracy Lewis, I hear you. You're saying that, getting an executive order from the president will not mean anything. That's not true. The fact is, executive orders really do matter. They just last for the life of a presidency. And you're right, we do need to go to Congress and lobby and get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, get that passed. All of that needs to happen. In the meantime, the president needs to put in place an executive order, Aaron. We need that. We need an executive order on justice and policing. And then you can go to the Congress and lobby and make that work. But you got to not just do something, you got to do that. That's important. The problem with executive orders is that they do not last past a presidency. But the good thing about an executive order is that it can be enacted in the midst of a presidency. And that's what we need right now. Aaron Connolly, what do you make of what happened yesterday?
Well,
and what about that? Because he went right
orders,
to voter suppression, right? He went right to it. He said, hey, this was a problem. You should not have had to wait in the Black community for 2.5 hours on average in line, while white rural communities were able to vote in 15 minutes. Now, that is ridiculous, Aaron.
And as he should. That should have been the first thing, because he's been fighting that voter suppression. He's been on that front line and sees what the people of Georgia in certain areas had to go through, right? And we've been disappointed that the John Lewis voting rights legislation has not moved in the last couple of years. And we see these local governments, state governments in many states outside of the South putting in similar provisions, and that will get more aggressive unless our Democratic leadership, as you said, makes that a priority. And that is the fundamental piece. The good news is we have people coming into Congress that understand this fight, that understand that the basics of democracy, that any type of voter suppression, any delay, any restriction is against our constitutional intention, right? What we have built and cultivated from our original Constitution, what it means now, right? We have to fight for that. And what it would do as an executive order is set that priority and intention for the White House to say, this is what we're going to fight for. This is where we stand. And now we're going to go to Congress. Now we're going to go to the Senate. Now we're going to have these tough conversations, even with Republicans, to say, is this what we stand for? Are we really going to suppress the vote when our Supreme Court isn't going to come through for us, when they're gutting the Voting Rights Act and ignoring the data behind it? And then we have these incidents in Georgia, and I'm sure Greg Palast will talk about some of the realities that we saw on the ground yesterday, reflecting the fears that we had that were outlined in his documentary Vigilante. But it's not just Georgia. It's places like Arizona. It's places like Ohio. It's even in certain areas in rural Pennsylvania where you see people turned away from the polls, where you see folks that speak a different language aren't able to access ballots properly. And we need to fight this at every level. Setting the executive order intention and making that a big push would go so far to rally the Democratic base moving into the next election, if we're talking about the politics of it, and give some hope to the organizers that have to be on the battlefield, right? This is the work that they're doing. When voters in Georgia are knocking on doors, they're not only saying, get out and vote, but they're training people on how not to break the law, right? Mm-hmm. And that is a whole different level of organizing. And the good news is what we saw is it didn't work. But next time, the law gets more difficult. They put in more provisions. If we don't stand up, there is that risk, right? So, and we need to make it easier for our folks on the ground to do that voter education, make that plan to vote, and not have to worry about whether they're going to get charged with something like we see some of these voters in Florida. So we need that national leadership to set the intention, to set the goal, and to let those folks know that this is a priority for Democrats.
Well, because the governor of Georgia deputized people to challenge people's votes. That's what happened with this law. That's why, people need to understand that while, we're excited about what happened, I think this is great, but if you don't marry this conversation, the victory, to the vigilance that was required by the voters, we're missing the whole point. Because the voter suppression did work. It did work. Because you want to know why? Guess what? His mail-in ballots fell by 83%. Aaron. Raphael Warnock's mail-in ballots fell by 83%. 83%. That was what pushed him to victory in 2020. Because we were coming through the pandemic, because we're still in it. And people, were like, how am I going to vote? Remember, 2020 was like, I don't know how to go to the polling stations. We didn't know what to do. So the mail-in vote was extremely important in 2020. But this time, in the general election, his mail-in ballots fell by 83%. So if you think we do not have work to do, and I'm excited about this moment, but if we don't look at voter suppression and voter oppression and a governor who deputized people to challenge your vote, you get to the polling place, Aaron, and you'd find out I've been purged. Or I have my next door neighbor challenged my right to vote. I'm like, who are you to challenge me? Challenge me? Are you serious? That was happening all over Georgia. It's insane. It's insane. But, but now that we have this victory, the 51-49 margin that we have in the Senate now, what does that mean, Aaron?
Well, it first means that some of these extremely qualified judicial nominees that President Biden has put up will be pushed through the Senate and we'll see those judges sitting on federal benches, right? It has been a huge issue that we have these vacancies for many appointments, not just in the judicial side of things. So the Senate will actually be able to do their job, which is helpful. So that's the most important thing. Also, we will be able to free up our brilliant and capable Vice President Kamala Harris to do additional work. She won't have to sit around D.C. and wait to see if she's going to have to break a tie in the Senate. It also takes some power away from the two senators who give us the most headache, Senator Manchin, who I like to call Senator Maserati, and my old friend Kirsten Sinema, who have clear corporate interests, who are aligned with whether that's the coal industry or taking money from pharmaceutical companies. She was at Mitch McConnell's foundation this fall, talking about her bipartisan efforts. I think it'll dilute some of the power that those two have in putting roadblocks on some of these things, like voting rights, the issues that really, really matter to Democrats. So there will be some movement in the Senate. We'll have a different battle in the House, as you know, but there will be some progress. Senator Schumer will be the actual majority leader. We will not have to see Mitch McConnell as much, which I think everyone will be happy about. And but really, I'm thrilled to see that our judicial nominees will get approval, and our court system will be able to function at a level that the American people deserve.
We really do need that now. We need these judicial appointments to get through. And they have not been able to get through with this power sharing arrangement that we've had. But I keep going back to the voting rights. And, and now they're attacking Stacey Abrams. I was reading an article that said that, they're looking at her new Georgia project, which has been it's like the Rainbow Push has the Citizenship Education Fund. They're attacking her. And so now her organization is possibly going to come under criminal investigation for unlicensed fundraising because some IRS something was not signed. Collecting donations, the article says, without a license in at least 9 states, opening itself up to fines and criminal inquiries. Now, this is from the Washington Free Beacon. I realize that they skew to the right, but they're letting you know what's going to happen with her. The article reads, state laws across the country prohibit charities that have not filed required financial disclosures with the IRS from soliciting donations. That could be as simple as someone it's an administrative error. That can happen. But what they're trying to do is shut her and her work down. The registering of voters. They need to investigate Brian Kemp and who was the Secretary of State who purged all those voters who would have been her margin of victory. Hello? Are you there, Aaron? That's who they need to be investigating.
Oh, yeah. No.
So
I agree. They use these tactics, right? And what I hope happens, which is true for many of these organizations, they work with fundraisers that file this type of paperwork and disclosure. So hopefully it's just a clerical error and we'll be able to move past it and make sure that Stacey Abrams can continue this important work, because we saw what she was able to build over many, many years had an impact yesterday. And these organizations are important. But at the same time, if we're investigating Stacey Abrams on our side, we need to do a little digging and see what some of these more conservative-leaning nonprofits and political action committees, how their fundraising is going and where their money's coming from, and making sure that we're in that legal fight as well, right? Sometimes we don't always use the tools in our toolbox when the evidence is right there in front of us. So I think that's a tactic we need to use more often, and take a look at some of these groups that clearly are not nonprofits, that clearly are raising money or doing political work on the other side. I think Stacey Abrams has come under enormous attacks since she started gaining power and popularity, and we saw what happened in her statewide race as a result. And as we know, candidates that are women, candidates who are Black women, face a huge and unfair disadvantage in our system, and are put under a different type of lens, a different type of microscope, and are often the target of lawsuits and different types of attacks than their male and their white male counterparts. So,
and progressives are
hoping that
the people who
absolutely.
protect the protected class get protected. Okay, let's just put it where it is. I don't care what color you are. If you want to come in to office and you want to protect the corporatocracy, if you want to wage war, you're going to be fine. I don't care what your color is. I don't care if you are a woman. As a matter of fact, they prefer to get women and people of color because you can do much more under the cover of darkness, if you will. You can do much more with a soft touch. Look at what England became under Maggie Thatcher. Are you for real? This is what we do. This is how we get down, everybody. As long as I can put a nice little, oh my goodness, Aaron, as long as I can just put a nice face on it. If I can brown up imperialism, I can do a lot of great things. Yeah, I'm putting it right there because I'm an anti-imperialist, everybody. I don't think that my oil is up under the Saudi sand. Okay? That's theirs. It belongs to Venezuela. Stop it. Stop. I don't want to invade anyone, and I don't want anyone invading me. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Yeah, I said that, Aaron, and I mean it.
Yes, anti-imperialist. It's like what we were talking about yesterday with the royal family, right?
Yeah.
And let me just say, I am Team Meghan Markle in this whole thing. But I'm a
Hi, Miss Jackson. I have DeKalb County Commissioner Larry Johnson and Greg Palast ready to go, and I'm about to call John Nichols.
But you know what? She knew what she was marrying into.
I'm against.
No, she knew what she was marrying into. So she needs to stop this crying, okay? And make a difference where she can't. No, because that's who this family is. This girl posed in front of Buckingham Palace when she was a teenager. And she worked in the American Embassy in Argentina when she was in college. She majored in international affairs and theater when she was at Northwestern. She is not a naif. So they just need to stop.
No, not by any means.
They need to stop all of this. The royal family, they have been racist. Ain't nothing new about that. That's why her marrying into the family was a big deal. But she also has a father who would not allow her to identify as a Black person. He argued her doctor down, the man who delivered her, and said he wanted to put Black on her birth certificate. Yeah, he did. And her father said, no, she's mixed race. And see, as a Black person, I'm real sensitive to these color games people play. And she has behaved her whole life. Poor Don Lemon was on CNN because she just said a few weeks ago, this is, it's my experience with the royal family that's made me feel like a Black woman. I'm like, just now? Honey, I saw what you looked like when you were a child. You felt like a Black girl then. That's why you said you felt ugly with all this curly, unmanageable hair. Everybody needs to stop it, Aaron. Hello?
Hello.
I mean, no, I want her to be all right. I do. But, I don't know how Harry got woke wearing a Nazi uniform. I mean, what? Hello?
Well, I think he, his service, and when we talk about leadership of service, right? Prince Harry was one of the only folks in the room.
2 minutes till the next break.
That he actually went to Afghanistan and fought among real people in war.
And I appreciate that.
That changes you. And I think that evolution of privilege where he was walking around in a Nazi costume is, it can change how you see the universe.
But see,
right?
when you're in
that environment.
While he was over there, he called one of his, one of his fellow soldiers who was a person of color. He used a racial pejorative. My only thing is, yeah, I mean, and he was reprimanded for it. It became a big story. That having been said, I mean, I'm not slamming. I'm just saying, while I'm seeing all these interviews, there's some people they hound. I mean, they hound Reverend on the Jewish question. They'll do that for the rest of their lives, right? But no one asked Harry about this.
Back in 60.
And that for me is, I'm like, what are y'all doing?
And hopefully it is addressed. I think it is difficult to.
They won't.
We remember, the pictures and the tabloid fodder.
This is called the ultimate white privilege, okay? Because they're making them into something else. So, I'm like, God bless them, but give me a break. Give me a break. Now, I mean, because you can't be a duchess and be a citizen over here. She's got to choose. We don't do royalty here.
That's true.
So enough.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, but
not official royalty, right? No. Enough already. Enough. Just deal with that family who own everything in the world, 1/6 of the land mass in the world.
About to come back.
Give me a break. They need to sit down and move out of that palace and turn it into a tourist attraction. Hello. Hey, Commissioner.
Can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. What happened in Georgia yesterday? Well, it was pretty miraculous. I mean, the 83% of the mail-in ballots for Raphael Warnock, it fell off. That's how he won in 2020. Voter suppression was at work. And last night he was very, very, very pointed in dealing with that. He said, as we have this mountain experience tonight, we have to go back into the valley and do some work. And it was a close race. Think about that. It was a close race with a guy who was supremely unqualified. And I do give him credit for this gracious speech that he gave last night. I do appreciate that. He could have gone in a completely different direction, and Herschel Walker did not do that. That having been said, we got a lot of work to do, everybody. There's a lot going on out here. There's a lot going on. We continue to talk about President Trump. If you don't look at the conditions that gave rise to him, then we're missing the whole point. Most of the people who are anti-Trumpers voted with him 90% of the time, starting with Liz Cheney. Stop it. Stop it. These people are with the proposition that supports the oligarchs. Stop it. Get off of him and deal with them who oppress all of us. How about that? So we've got Greg Palast, brilliant investigative reporter. You've got to see the movie Vigilante. You've got to see it. What happened yesterday and what's been happening in Georgia with voter suppression, and in Maine and in Arizona, which Aaron Connolly, who's still with us, what we've been talking about, it's laid out brilliantly in this film. And indeed, you can just take Georgia and you can take that what's happened in Georgia and put an overlay over all 50 states and the territories. Voter suppression is coming to a place near you. Don't listen to what the corporate media are saying. President Trump has won nearly 90% of the races that he entered people into. His infrastructure that he is building all across the country is very real, and it is in place. It is in place. So, Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Well, you have to be my co-host today, Erin. She's like my dear sister here, and attorney Erin Connolly, brilliant political organizer and analyst. She does so much. You got to get her on TV because she certainly is gorgeous. If you see her, Greg Palast, you're going to go, ooh. My goodness. And then, of course, the DeKalb County Commissioner, Larry Johnson. Well, no, but there's nothing wrong with that. I love men who love me. I ain't got a problem with that. Because if you get out of line, I can get you straight. I'm not worried about that. That's not a problem for me. I love y'all. And I love you loving me. Yeah, I'm that girl. Yeah, me. I like you liking me. How about that piece? So I'm really glad that you all are here. But
my wife admits that you are gorgeous, so there you go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But that's my parents, and I appreciate that. But before I get to you, we got our Georgia DeKalb County Commissioner, Larry Johnson. Boy, oh boy, have I enjoyed interacting with you over the past 24 hours. You are a gem. What happened yesterday?
That love and light we got from Chicago, baby. Shine on Georgia. That midnight train. Y'all brought that midnight train down here.
Woo-hoo! Okay. All right.
Man, we got this, it's exciting thing. We had 50% turnout, which is unusual for a runoff. In the state of Georgia. The people spoke, just like our Senator Warnock talked about. And in DeKalb County, we did 88% for Warnock.
Wait.
That was good.
88%?
88%. 2 percentage points more than we did last time. So people that missed it came back out.
Wow.
Wasn't that beautiful?
Well, I mean, it is beautiful. So let me ask you, so people really felt that this runoff was extremely important because we were concerned. We were hearing stories that some people didn't even know that there was a runoff.
Right. Well, people had to, if you look at the quality of the candidate and what we were running against, people started mirroring and us are saying, well, that's not, we got to go with who's qualified. And people keep talking about the candidate, but our Reverend Warnock is qualified, most qualified. He's shown results that you can't see in the last 2 years. I mean, from helping with COVID to infrastructure, to helping with loan forgiveness to insulin. Those are things that's going to impact us for generations and dealing with health disparities, dealing with some of the folks who've been left out. And like he said, last night we on top of the mountain, but now we got to go back in the valley. I just remind people, we've been dealing with voter suppression since we had to count how many bubbles on the card, or how many, what do you call it? The bubble gum, how many
bubbles in a bar of soap? Is that crazy?
Yeah,
jelly beans.
Jelly beans. That's jelly beans. So it ain't we ain't gonna eat no Wonder Bread around suppression, but we found ways to overcome it, and we're gonna have to still deal with it because there may be some other ways come. We had 7 days to get out the vote that we got out. 7 days. They cut it back, cut the drop boxes. Couldn't have it in certain locations. No more water. No more food while you're in line. All those things were done, but the people said no. That's why Senator Warnock talked last night. He said the people spoke, period.
And that's why I guess they turned the polling areas almost into party sites where people get something to eat. They could go use the restroom, and then you get in line. Tell me about that.
You find another way. You know how we know how to find another way. You remember we made pies to make black colleges.
Yes.
We did chicken dinners on Sunday to raise money for churches and charities. We find ways to get this thing done because we've shown as a race we're resilient. We got tenacity, and we're not going to be stopped, period.
Unbelievable. What happened? I mean, Greg Palast, talk to us, because we're going to be bringing on, of course, John Nichols in a hot second. But talk to me about what was overcome yesterday.
Well, I want to report something that no one's reporting. You had Brad Raffensperger, and his name is not Berger; it really is Perger. The Republican Secretary of State. His name is Raffensperger, and Brian Kemp. We're all over CNN and every outlet saying record turnout. Well, that's the in-person turnout. But we still had, as you said, a massive drop of 90% in the mail-in ballot because of SB 202, or as Gerald Briggs of the NAACP correctly calls it, Jim Crow 2.2. And here's the numbers. Here's a cold number, which people have to accept. Here's Jim Crow. In the last runoff, there were 4.5 million votes. In this runoff, there are a little more than 3.5 million votes. We had a drop-off of 750,000 votes between the last runoff with Reverend Senator Warnock. And this election, 750,000 vote drop because of what you just heard from DeKalb. Basically making it illegal to vote by mail-in. They removed they cut the early voting, and they cut the runoff time so quick that you couldn't print, mail out, and get back your mail-in ballot. They knocked the drop boxes off in Atlanta from 107 to 25. Went from 17 days of early voting to 7, and that's only because Gerald Griggs and NAA and others went to court and won an extra day of early voting. Thank God for that extra day of early voting. And it's not whether I'm for Warnock or for Walker. I'm for the voters. The voters won. If the rights groups hadn't gone into court and won that extra day, who knows how this would be? There's only 75,000 vote difference, 70,000 vote difference. And it was a close one. And again, it was only close not because of the people thought it was close. Put those two guys next to each other, they were close. What made it close and what cost between 500,000 and 750,000 votes was Jim Crow, was SB 202. And yesterday I was watching my film with the wonderful Rodney Ellis out of Texas and new Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett out of Texas. Why were these Texans in Georgia? Because they said it's a contagion. This new Jim Crow trickery is coming to Texas, and we know it. And we have to stomp it out, and we have to shout about it right now. If you want to take my film to the Congressional Black Caucus, and I encourage that. By the way, the film is Vigilante, Georgia's Vote Suppression Hitman, which you can see through the weekend, thanks to Jamie Foxx, for free at vigilantemovie.com, vigilantemovie.com. We're still keeping it up because it's not about Georgia. This is about America. This was the test ground. This was the test kit.
That's right.
And so, I really am proud that the film will be shown to the Congressional Black Caucus. But you know what I'd like, Santita? I'd like to be shown to the Congressional White Caucus. How about that? Let's get some out. Let's kind of wake up these people. You watched CNN last night, and Raffensperger saying there's no Jim Crow. Look at the outcome. Look at those massive lines. They take the image of Jim Crow, where black people are waiting 2 hours in line to vote. That's Jim Crow, and they're saying, oh, that's evidence how wonderful our laws are working because all these black people are out voting. They're out. It was rainy, foggy yesterday. It didn't stop people. Yeah. So yes, Reverend Warnock was pointing out, don't take the outcome. Do not take the outcome as evidence that Jim Crow wasn't there. You can defeat Jim Crow through activism, law, voting, climbing that mountain. And it was a slippery, muddy, icy mountain. And, we are very lucky that Jim Crow didn't win this one. Again, it's not about Walker and Warnock.
No, it's not. But I've got John Nichols with me for a few minutes. He's got some other obligations. I'm so glad that you were able to join us this morning. What did we see last night? Because the senator wouldn't let us get off of television or out the room without talking about voter suppression, John.
Of course, but the important thing to understand is that it was overcome, and this is the vital message. Everything that Greg is saying today is vital, and he's right. This film should be shown from Black Caucus, but to all of Congress. It would be wonderful if Republican eyes would open, but at the least, Democratic eyes should be opened. And here's the vital reality. Congress has not moved effectively or even realistically on voting rights during this current session. They're going to be in lame duck session. They and President Biden can take steps to defend voting rights, and they ought to do so. They ought to address the most egregious forms of voter suppression. And then they ought to, take their hits. If the courts come in and say no, and if the courts push back, well, then they fight on and they fight more. But they've got to take that chance to address this reality, because it's true. Last night was close. It was too close. People were stuck to their TV sets for hours, waiting to see those totals go up and down.
Now, those of us who cover politics knew that Warnock was going to ultimately win because you knew where the votes were. And he did indeed win, but it wasn't a landslide. And I had so many people say to me last night, how could it be that close in this circumstance against such a weak and really discredited Republican candidate? How could it be so close? And the reality, of course, is that it is too hard to vote, not just in Georgia, but in every state across the country. Now, with that said, let us understand that this is a moment of celebration. And we ought to never get so lost in our frustration that we forget the need of celebration. The Reverend Raphael Warnock, who has held the pulpit of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., has been reelected to the United States Senate. That is huge. That is meaningful on so many levels. But there is another level to recognize here. In addition to Reverend Warnock's victory, there is a victory for Joe Biden that I think many people have not noticed. Joe Biden is the first president since Franklin Roosevelt in 1934. Then I'm going to emphasize that. The first president since Franklin Roosevelt in 1934 to see every senator of his party reelected in a midterm election cycle. That has not happened in the better part of 100 years. And what Biden ought to understand from that is the true lesson of the 2022 midterms, which are finally done. As of this morning, the 2022 midterms are finally done. And the true lesson of those midterms is that Democrats have a mandate. They had a mandate in 2020. They used it in some ways, but not sufficiently. They have a mandate coming out of 2022. They did not hold the House, but it is so close they will be able to do at least some things there. They've got the Senate by a bigger margin. They are better positioned in the states than they have been for many, many years. And they need to operate on that mandate. Wait till early January to do so. There are things they can do right now. And I hear these voices of caution saying, well, we shouldn't use the lame duck to do too many things. That is fundamentally wrong. The lame duck session, these next few weeks, Democrats can say, look, the voters have sent a message. Mm-hmm. It is a clear message. They want us to get things done, and we can do things.
But see, John, let me just interrupt you here.
So many others.
Because it's also a betrayal of the voters if the Democrats do not act. And yes, I'm very strong in my language because people are hurting out here. Black people waited on average 2.5 hours. White people were able to vote in 15 minutes in Georgia. I appreciate and applaud the fact that Black people for 400 plus years since we've been here have been leaping over every barrier that has been placed in our way. But I am tired of having to make that leap. It's wrong.
Well,
this is just
exactly
wrong.
Right. And you are exactly right. And that is my point. And that is your point as well.
Yeah.
And that is that don't make excuses. This is the mandate is there. It has been delivered. The state of Georgia, understand it, the state of Georgia, which just a very few years ago, people said was unwinnable. The Democrats would never win there. Well, Democrats now have 2 senators from the state of Georgia, one of whom, Raphael Warnock, has been elected to the Senate 4 times in 2 years. He won his initial election in 2020. He won his runoff in 2021. He won his initial election in 2022. He won his runoff in later 2022. 4 times elected in 2 years.
What Black folks have to do.
A mandate. No. Take that as a mandate and go and govern. Govern in these next few weeks and then govern going forward in January. Don't let anything hold you back because you're right, Santita. Not governing at this point when people have done so much, when they have gone through so much to deliver this victory, that would be a betrayal.
We've done everything. All the articles that were written were if Black people did not vote Democrats, we're going to lose. We hear that every cycle. Right. If Black folks don't do this, if only you, I am sick of that. Now I need you to deliver for me. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. Deliver for me. Deliver. And that's it. I should not have to stand in line 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours and turn a polling station into a party place because you playing with me. Now, if I send you to Washington, or if I send you to the state capitol, you better defend me. Enough.
And Raphael Warnock, to his credit, recognized.
That's he sure did, and he needs company.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then one final thing I'll say before I have to go, and my deep apologies for being just so quick here. One final thing I'll say is, as they address voter suppression, which they should do in this lame duck, as they address voter suppression, they should address all of the issues that Greg and others have been talking about this morning. They should also address the reality of the runoff. That runoff
is racist and a relic of another time. You know it.
Exactly. And when the Reverend Raphael Warnock has to win 4 times to get the same Senate seat that some of his colleagues barely won 1 time, we have to recognize that those are unreasonable barriers. What an incredible man this is, and what an incredible voting base this is in Georgia. They went through this 4 times to get their senator. Well, they've got their senator, and the rest of the people in Washington are recognized that if people are willing to go through that much, it's time to make the system fair. It is time to have an even system across the country and to get rid of runoffs, which have been and remain unfair barriers to those who actually win elections and would have won in any other state, but in Georgia have to go through the process all over again.
You know, because they're racist, but more than that, racism is a form of classism. They're classist. Right. They are designed to Dennis Kucinich, Bernie Sanders, a white progressive, catches hell trying to fight for you. We ought to be tired of this. Enough. I am tired of being applauded as a Black person for being so strong and being so crafty in my thinking. I am sick of this. You need to stop playing with me and do right by me. Period.
Bless you, my sister.
Bless you, my brother. You know, we've been together a long time.
Carry that message forward. I wish I could stay with you longer. I have to go and do more conversations with people who they just strive to be as enlightened as you are and as your other guests are.
I love my John.
I know. We'll carry the word forward.
I know he had to bump me over for MSNBC or BBC or something, but that's all right. I love you. Thank you so much. But you know what? I have to tell you, I don't want you all to stay with me just for a few minutes because Aaron, stay with me just for a few minutes, just a few minutes after we get off the air here. Everybody stay on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. So many of you are with us today, and the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Because, I am tired, Commissioner Johnson, of being applauded for being so strong and for thinking outside the box. I'm like, what you need to do is get the box from around me. How about that piece? Yeah. How about ending voter suppression? How about that piece? How about that? Huh?
John Lewis bill. We need to get the John Lewis bill passed.
And you know what? Put it to a vote. Whoever votes it up, whoever votes it down, let them go on the record as supporting that bill or not supporting it. That not voting on it is a cop-out. It's a cop-out. To just stop playing. So what's the path forward for us, Commissioner Johnson? I've got about a minute and a half.
The path forward for us is that you have to have voting experience all year round. It's not a 2 and 4 year cycle. We have to stay on the ground and educate because our vote turns into public policy like you have talked about so early. Economic development, Head Start, eliminating health disparities, dealing with our social determinants of health, bringing our seniors affordable housing, making sure our young people have the best start to go to college or trade school, and making sure that it's free at community college. Those are the things that we have to continue to push for. That vote equates to that. So as African Americans, we don't have to make no excuses. We've been loyal. We've been dedicated. Now it's time to pay the piper. And so we're not going to demand nothing less. And I tell that to anybody who I see. Our people deserve the best, and we're not going to make any excuses. Let's move forward. So that's my mandate for us as we move forward as a people, as a collective. We got to go forward, and we're not going to make no excuses and take any, period.
Amen. And everything that helps Black people, everything we've ever done has made America what America's supposed to be. And this, I swear to you, America will not be until I am treated as somebody. That's just the way it is.
Let me say in the words of my fraternity brother, Bobby Rush, we going to keep moving forward and make things happen. Period.
Bam. Mic drop on that. I've got 30 seconds for you because you know what, Greg? People need to see your movie, and we can see it without. Thank you, Jamie Foxx, for paying for this for us to see it without having to pay for it. How can we see Vigilante movie? Greg Palast, are you still there? Everybody go to gregpalast.com, gregpalast.com, or go to vigilantemovie.com. You can see it without paying for it, thanks to Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx decided to sponsor this, and how generous it is of him to have done that. Because, Aaron, we need to see this movie. Aaron, I got 30 seconds for you.
Well, thank you so much to Greg Palast, to John Nichols, to the commissioner. My goodness, to DeKalb County. When I saw those numbers come in, I took a deep breath.
And you stopped getting sick.
Stop getting sick, yeah. But what will make me sick again is if we don't invest in year-round organizing. This is how we keep winning. And I want the voters in Georgia to get a primary sooner. I think we need to do South Carolina. I think we need to have Georgia deciding who we are going to elect to national office. I think it's high time that the organizers and the folks that are battling this voter suppression get more of a say in our national voice. And I'm glad the Democrats are finally making that a reality.
Make it happen, everybody. Stay right here. Going to get some closing thoughts from everybody here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Love you. See you tomorrow. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything else you want to say? And of course, Aaron. I mean, I think of all of the hoops that we have had to jump over, through, around, and the hoops have been on fire. I'm tired of this. And at some point, people have to be called out. Now they're about to investigate Stacey Abrams. And I've told you all that every investigation, every indictment is a political act, yet whether it's on the right or the left. Because you have all these unconvicted felons walking around out here. This is a game that they play to stop you from doing, or somebody above you does not like you. That's all that this is. That's why I kind of look at this whole thing that's happening with Trump and I go, okay, I don't know. Y'all just don't want him to run for president. If you don't want him to run for president, tell him so, cut the deal so he can go on about his business, because that's how it works. I learned that. Okay. We didn't know that when we got into politics. We just thought that you were supposed to vote and all. No, there's a lot that goes into this thing. Okay, but what
it's called politics.
It's politics. But what the deal is, you still have to be involved in it, because it can become politics if you decide to make this honest and honorable, or it can be politics if you decide not to be involved. You have to get involved. There's nothing, everything that you do, you have a job that is honorable, and you are noteworthy. And you are worthy of praise because of what you do, Commissioner Johnson. I will always give honor to, oh my goodness, and the people believe in you. That's why they continue to elect you by these huge margins. Because we need, Herschel Walker was right, we need to, be able to trust our elected officials. And when we do have trustworthy elected officials, people who work on our behalf, they make our lives better. Adam Clayton Powell was able to get Black people into school because when he sat on that education committee, he did not play. He pushed money to Black colleges. That's what he did. And we can just keep on going down the line to people who...
That's what I tell people.
You know what I'm saying?
I tell people the process don't stop once you vote for me. You got to help me to push the policy that you want. Don't send me down there and then you don't come to help. You don't come out here They come to the meetings and all that. You got to stay engaged. It's a 24/7 proposition for me. I'm an empowerment commissioner. It ain't about me. It's about us. I'm trying to create more leaders. I'm not trying to create more followers.
Look, Commissioner
We got to
Johnson,
work
let me
together.
ask you this. The people who did not support you, do they not try to become your best friend the day after you get elected?
Some of them do.
Okay.
Some of them don't.
Okay, but
I get
I'm
most
just
of my
saying.
calls from the ones who don't.
But the people who, even the folks who did not support you, they know that you're in the seat of power, so they got to deal with you, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. You're right. You're right.
So it's like, everybody, stop it. Yeah, we need to
You gotta
understand
look at the reality.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
The reality is you gotta stay on the ground. And these last 2 years in this pandemic and what we've had to go through, it is so clear. And the millennials are not waiting. They're strong. They not taking no prisoners. That's why I love them. They going forward.
I love it.
And so you got to get on board and move this thing forward, because from housing to economic development, all of those things happen because of we the people. And that's what Senator Warnock talked about last night. We the people. He come from a family of 12. Daddy went around collecting junk. And on Sunday, he preached. He restored broken folks. Picked up broken pieces during the week and restored them souls on Sunday.
Amen.
That's real. That's real. That stuff is real, you know? And so we got to stay on the ground and make sure everything that we voted for becomes a reality. Period. It starts with your school board.
That's right.
You got to get involved with your school board. You sit there and let the school board folks do whatever they want. That's one of the most powerful positions that you can have. Their school board is 70% of your property taxes. Is paid to the school system. 70%. Their budget is double the county commission budget. They pick the books. They pick the curriculum. All the things your kids get as foundations are laid at that system. But we don't want to be involved. You got to get involved.
Aaron?
Well, and I'm so glad you mentioned school board, right? Because this is an area where we're going to see some tough results throughout the country. We look at a state like Michigan, for example, that had huge Democratic gains. We saw Gretchen Whitmer win her statewide race. We had some great victories there. The bad news is, in many school boards, especially in suburban Detroit, GOP mega candidates were winning by huge margins and have totally infiltrated many of these very wealthy school boards, as Commissioner Johnson points out. So this is an area where I spent time growing up and saw, horror from many of the parents who have to now deal with these folks on the school board. And my answer was, you got to run. You have to start going to these meetings. You can't just get upset when the result isn't what you want. And so what we need now, as these millennials are waking up, as they're having kids and seeing the impact of these policies at the local level, this is the next fight. And the GOP has been really good at starting small and building a bench of folks at the school board level, at the local level, at local boards, at clerks' offices, things like this. And we need to take the fight to the top of government and also to the bottom in these local municipalities where these big decisions and big budgets are managed. And ultimately, they're deciding what our kids are learning next. These are the folks banning the books. These are the folks firing teachers for no cause. So we have to keep doing something. And it doesn't end at election day. We got to show up to the town hall meetings. We have to support the folks that, we voted for and knocked on doors for. It's not just up to them. And we also have to hold them accountable. They're going to have to make tough decisions. And it's important to know that they have folks behind them that are going to support them when they do the right thing, that is often the hard thing, right? We got to give them space and power to do that right thing. That's our job. We can't abandon them once they've won. They need an army behind them.
Amen.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because Commissioner, I see, and Attorney Connolly, I see people who they would not be denied. And it touched my soul. That having been said, I said, I am tired of the injustice. And I need the Democrats to come through for me. Even if you put the John Lewis bill to a vote, put it to a vote. Let people go on record and explain whether and why they support this or not. Yes or no? I want to know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I need an executive order. I know it will only last the length of your presidency, but I need you to go on record saying, you know what, enough already. Because, see, Trump has won 90% just about of the races that he entered candidates into. He has built an infrastructure from coast to coast in every single state. The corporate media are lying to you. They are not telling you the truth. Trump has won, and he has been winning and winning and winning. Ballotpedia gives you raw numbers. And they said, oh, no. He has won between 88 and 90% of the races that he entered people into. So he's built his infrastructure. And they're not all white, honey. Y'all, they're not. There's a lot going on here. If we don't understand the conditions that have shaped him and why he's been sent, why he's so prominent, that's why he can run for president. They can indict him. They can do whatever they want to him. He has so much, his people support out here is so thick and deep. Y'all, what? That's real. So what we need to find out now is what is driving all of this unrest on the right and the left. I can tell you part of it is medical bills, Commissioner. The main driver of bankruptcy in the United States of America today, even when you've got good insurance, I didn't say have. When you got good insurance, you can go broke with not even a catastrophic illness, just one. You think after you've given your insurance card at the hospital, I've just been going through it. And then you come home with a bill for $200, $250, $500. Okay. And then you look up and you got $1,000 of bills, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we just in Georgia just lost one of our major hospitals. So we got one trauma center for 6 million people.
That is
so
insane.
You can imagine, I tell people with good insurance, you still will have some problems trying to get in. And Grady is a public hospital, just like Cook County is there. And you're going to have a tough time. And them folks have got out of the market. So what do we do? How do we do it?
And hospitals to me should be a public utility, Commissioner. It should be mandated that you have X amount of hospitals per. We only have we barely have 1 million hospital beds for 300 million people, 330 million people in the United States, which is absolutely insane.
Crazy.
I mean, how is it that a country of 330 million people, we have 1 million hospital beds?
Yeah. And the rural communities are suffering even worse.
They're closing them down. Come on.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. So it is crazy when you look at the Black Belt. When I say go from I-20 all the way up north, or 75 from Miami all the way up to Ohio, the stroke belt, all of those things are real in our community. And so I tell people, not only good for you to have access to health care, but you got to use it. And that's what I'm stressing to my folks as well. You got to go to the doctor and use it. Know your numbers. Understand what's going on. Health is an empowerment piece as well. You got to take care of yourself. The stress, the depression, the things we're going through, we need it as much as anything right now to making sure that we have those things. So what you're saying, Ms. Jackson, is so crucial, and the clarion call is out. Now what? We got to do our next steps.
What are the next steps?
The next steps for us down here in Georgia is to continue the campaign in terms of now, since the senator's been elected, we got 2 good senators in there. And we even have good Congress people down here. One of our Congresswoman who took over for John Lewis just became the regional whip, Nikema Williams, which puts her in line for leadership. And because you got to have with the Democratic Party, and I tell people, you got to have geographic balance. You can't have everybody from the East or the West. You got to make sure you have folks from the South and Southwest as well as part of the leadership structure. And so I'm glad that they're recognizing that and putting that in place. But now we got to put our demands on the table like everybody else. That John Lewis bill got to get passed. We got to expand Medicaid down here in Georgia. We're leaving a lot of money on the table, and we're hurting a lot of folks of black and brown that need our help. So those are the first couple of things I would focus on to try to get done right now. And see, next year you have 51, so you don't have to rely.
I mean, we're going to have what next year? That Greg is back, but hold on one moment. We're going to have what next year, Commissioner?
You have 51, so you don't have to play around with that one vote that we had to play around with to try to get them to be on our side. So you got some extra leverage that you don't have, that you didn't have before, because 2024 is here. And people don't see it, but it's already here. As soon as this race was over, it started. And it's going to change the whole dynamic. So we have to be on the ground and be paying attention and use the power we have to leverage it for our people.
Yeah, and be clear that we do have the power. We have the power.
We got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have to guess about it. You can see it. It's there. That's why I understand. I don't have to sit around. This is it. We got it. Use it.
Well, you know what? But that's why our leaders have been inspirational, because they tell us that we can do it, because we're constantly told that it's futile. Your vote doesn't matter. You don't matter. That even if you have a dissenting voice, Commissioner and Greg and Attorney Connolly, that you're not allowed to have a dissenting voice. That was what was disturbing to me about this whole pandemic. You couldn't even ask questions. That to me was very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. You don't just tell people, grown people and parents of little people, what to do. Give them the space to ask you some questions. And just, particularly for people who've been as abused as we've been, and indigenous people have been, and anyone who's lived under the boot. So I'm like, stop. Y'all got to freeze on all this noise, because this is not working. And we've become just as anti-democratic on the left as we've accused people of being on the right, by shutting down conversation, shutting down debate. Look, voting to me is a transpartisan issue, not bipartisan. I don't want to hear about that. It's not even a partisan issue. It ought to be an American issue, period. And in a nation that's turning into a nation of renters where Americans increasingly own nothing, if they make a property requirement on voting, you'll see. Because there's some people who actually think that needs to happen. That if you are not an owner of property, if you don't have X amount of dollars, you don't really deserve to vote. I mean, some people really think that way, Commissioner. You know that.
Yeah.
And the oligarchs they believe that. I mean, Greg Palast, what is our takeaway from yesterday?
Well, two things. One, unfortunately, I'm always, as an investigative reporter, I'm always the bearer of bad news. We did have a drop of 750,000 votes. And so when Raffensperger goes on CNN, the Secretary of State of Georgia, and crows about, there's no Jim Crow. There's, we had record turnout. He's not counting the mail-in ballot, which went last time 2.5 to 1 for Warnock. 500,000 votes. So those 750,000 mail-in ballots basically vanished. 90% drop in mail-in voting in that runoff. That we have to address. And Jim Crow was there. He said so. He mentioned the lines, but I really wanted to talk about mail-in voting and drop boxes, which are vital to working people. And that takes me to the second takeaway. Reverend Senator Warnock ran on a very progressive platform, as did 2 years ago his running mate, John Ossoff. They didn't say, this is Georgia. We have to pander. We have to say, we're for right-to-work laws. We don't agree with forgiving student debt. Some Democrats hid and said, no, let's not forgive the student debt. That's shameful. Senator Warnock's record, as Herschel Walker liked to point out to you, his record was only a dime's length away from Bernie Sanders' record. Yes, and he ran in Georgia on this progressive platform, as did Ossoff. as you pointed out, basically vote suppression is class war by other means.
That's all it
class
is.
war, but they know that in a place like Georgia, you know, you say that progressives, oh, look, they're hanging out with black folk. You know, it's like, you know, careful, danger, danger. You know, yes. So it's not just race that they went after with Warnock. It was his progressive record, and they lost on that. They lost in Georgia. That's very, very important. You know, believe it or not, it's hard to imagine, but a century ago, in the 30s, Georgia was one of the most progressive states in the nation. Huey Long came out of Louisiana with basically a populist socialist program. And, you know, unfortunately, it was all poisoned by race, which held back the progressive program. But now we see, you know, people joining hands together and saying, we need health insurance. You know, what was Stacey Abrams' number one winning point back in 2018 was I will take the money from Obamacare to extend health insurance. And, you know, in Georgia, that mainly affects poor white people. And that's why she had a popular vote, which is way beyond the black vote, because she spoke to people's needs. So did Ossoff. So is Reverend Senator Warnock. The progressive program, when put in people terms, is terrific. If you're going to try to jam down, like if you go to my film, you got some white guy talking about the Georgia secession flag, and he thinks that Georgia ought to be independent if they don't win. In other words, if Kemp lost, that Georgia should secede from the Union. But this is a guy, I talked to him. He worked at a poultry factory. He has no health insurance. He has nothing. He's probably getting minimum wage if he gets that. And that's the guy. I actually think we could win that guy over if we can say, okay, get beyond, the Civil War displays and all the rest. Where's your health insurance? Where's your schools? I mean, I was down in Coffee County.
I've seen Reverend Jackson do it. I've seen it.
Yes.
I've said, look, this is, and in fact, we've been building this ship a long time. What we have to do is start telling the truth wherever we go, so that people can know. That's why I want people to see your movie, because people need people need information. We're being fed junk all day, every day, Aaron. I mean, just all day, every day. It's just junk. It's not even entertainment. It's just junk. And so when you come up with something as serious as voting, we're all they even turn that into entertainment instead of dealing with the real issues, healthcare costs. ACA was a great beginning, but it is not the end. You need a universal single-payer system so that no one goes broke trying to get well. And you need to figure out a way to educate more kids so we can have more nurses, more doctors, more people in the healthcare ecosystem, from people who clean the hospital to the top administrator, to the doctors. We need more. We don't need fewer. I don't want to have an argument with you about affirmative action. Affirm that we need to act on getting more people in school. How about that? Not just legacies.
Yeah, I know. And that from the poultry factory who wants to have a revolution, that guy from the poultry factory, I want to know, what's the chance of your kid getting into a good college from Coffee County, Georgia? White, black, green doesn't matter. You're behind it. And you're right. The ruling class, and this is how my film Vigilante ends. It's about power, and the rulers of Georgia for 300 years, whether the Kemps called themselves the Habershams or not, was about power and money. And this election was the people versus Georgia Pacific, the Coke industry subsidiary here. It's against Georgia Power, Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, which we used to have the big store, department store here was Sears years ago. Union pay, union protection, union jobs, lifetime jobs, good pay, and now it's Home Depot. You know, Bernie, the owner of Home Depot lives here in Georgia. He's a giant donor to Trump and to Kemp and to Herschel Walker. He didn't care about the color of these candidates that he was buying. He wanted to know, are they going to protect me and make sure that I never have to pay more than minimum wage, that I never have to get health insurance for my workers? This was class war. And I have to say, we won as a people. So democracy won. It was a tough fight. And democracy is wounded. Like I say, 750,000 vote drop. But it is class war. And that's what I feel deeply down here. And
Absolutely.
The one thing is, African Americans here are just more educated on this subject.
Well, we've racialized classism. See, people think racism is a form of classism, period.
Yes.
Classism is the issue, but one of the things that we can't allow, and this is where we kind of run up into a buzzsaw with white progressives. The fact is, racism is so deeply entrenched, you can't let that go either, because it's been wedded to class in the United States. So, that's why, I love Bernie Sanders. I'm a Bernie-crat. But I have to say, no, darling, because see, I'm the readily identifiable other. Everybody else can pass into whiteness but me. Okay? So,
that's right.
So racism is always going to be a big thing for me, always. And if it's going to be a big thing for me, it's going to be a big thing for you. But it is classism. That's why we racialized classism. So we wouldn't have to really deal with it. Commissioner, Aaron, Greg, deal with that, with the great unwashed and all of that. But that's real. And it's real.
All day long.
All day long.
Well, I'm so glad, Commissioner. I hope I can get down maybe to see you today. Santita, could you do the magic you did yesterday and got me together with Rodney Ellis, and we can connect?
Commissioner, I'm going to bring you two together by text. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
No, would you say that? Look, you need to get back to Chicago, but that's all right. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Okay. I'm gonna have to jump because I'm already getting, I need to get on the air elsewhere at the moment.
Oh, of course.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do.
A lot of work.
Yes, we do.
You.
But I want to thank you for all that you do. And I want you to remind people, hold on, that's Mike, because I still have a landline, everybody. And I want you to remind everyone about your movie, how we can see it, the name, all of that.
Okay. Actually, go to gregpalace.com and you can see the links. You can see Vigilante movie, Vigilante Georgia's vote suppression hitman for through the weekend for free. It's not available commercially, so all you can do is see it for free at movie.com, or just go to gregpalace.com and we'll have a discussion. You get the movie links, but you'll also have a discussion about what's happened in Georgia and what's happening around the rest of the country with our vote and our welfare. Well, thank you so much, Santita. Blessings to the family.
Oh,
Bye.
Blessings to you. Is there anything you'd like to say, Commissioner? I think that might be it, everybody. Well, you know what? It has been Commissioner, what else would you like to say before we go?
Just say thank you for bringing the information to the world and what we're doing here in Georgia. And we just appreciate you, and I hope to see you soon in person.
Oh, you will. You have no idea. I'm so looking forward to this. I mean, I cannot wait to see you, even though I'm now a little salty with Georgia for taking you, but that's all right. You went down there, you got a wonderful wife, and so that works for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's a Delta, too, now. So she Delta all day long with you. So, y'all rolling. Can I give a shout-out to my fraternity brothers right quick, George Smith and Brian Green from the Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. They on the line.
Yes.
My grandmother and aunt.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Yes.
Appreciate you, and I'll see you soon, Miss Jackson.
Oh, blessings to you. I'm going to send this to him so that he can be in touch with you, but you all be in touch with each other because he is... Martin Sheen is the executive producer of this movie, and Jamie Foxx is now one of the patrons. So these are people that you need to be in contact with.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
Thank you so
pardon me
much.
for not putting a
Appreciate
note in there, but I just wanted to give you all each other's numbers so that you all can be in touch.
All right.
Is my
All right,
sister
thank you.
Erin? Oh, I
Have a good
love
day.
you. My sister Erin,
All
are you
right.
still
Bye-bye.
there?
Love you.
I love you. Did Erin leave me? Well, that's all right. She's got to take care of her beautiful son John. But I love all of you. I hope that you all had a good day today. Boy, I was working out this show as we were getting it on the air. But I really we got a lot of work to do. America is such a great country, and I'm so glad that I'm a citizen. And I'm so glad that my family and your family, that we've all been in this American project together. Yeah, we get upset from time to time and get disappointed and all of that. And we want America to be all that it's supposed to be. But it takes work. It's just like any relationship. And you know that from, relationships are tough because they really help you to see who you are not, and all that you need to do. We have to fight to make America be what it's supposed to be. That's all there is to it. We have a fight on our hands, and we are equipped to be in the fight, and we have always won when we have fought. My father says it all the time. We've never lost a battle that we fought, but if you don't fight, you're guaranteed to lose. You try to fight, you might lose, but if you don't fight, you're gonna lose. But we've never won a battle unless we have fought. You got to get out here and fight. You got to make this country what it's supposed to be. We have to push, because the original idea of the country was right wing. That's what it is. And we've been fighting the right wing for 400 plus years since we've been here. So come on, it's all right. We're time enough for all of this, because every time we have fought, we have won. We have made America better. We've made America what it's supposed to be. So come on, everybody, let's get with it. After you've paid your debt to society, you should not be in slavery. You ought to be voting. I think prisoners ought to vote. Please, they make up congressional districts. Yes, they do. Because their bodies are counted as part of the citizenry, so they help to fill out congressional districts. Yeah. We treat prisoners as if they're the refuse of the nation, and that's a horrible thing. They're not. And there's so many people who are not in prison who ought to be. You know that's the truth. Come on. So let's stop playing these games, everybody. Let's stop playing these games. And let's get with the program. Let us get with the program, and let's do what we need to do. Let's make America what it's supposed to be, and let's be who we're supposed to be. Let's be better people, not just better people. Let's become the right people. Let's become good people. Let's do that. Let's do that. More perfect union. Yeah, we need that. We need to become more perfect human beings. Let's be kind. Let's be compassionate. Let's be loving. The Bible doesn't tell you anything about like. No, it says you are commanded, not recommended. Commandment is to love. First ye love one another. That's just love. And love the Lord God with all your heart and soul and all your might. That's what you do. Love. And love cancels all the other foolishness out. You might not like someone, but you won't do wrong by them if you love them. So let's get with the program. Let's become more perfect. Let's have a more perfect union, but we can only have a more perfect union if we become more whole, more perfect people. You don't have enemies, you have opponents. See, when you change that language, you start dealing with people very differently. Let's start having opponents, not enemies. Let's start loving each other. And let's start considering each other in the decisions that we make. When we make these decisions, let's just say, now, you know what? I know I want all of this, but you know what? Let me see how that might impact you. So, then we have to have the art of the compromise, right? Okay, I might not get everything I want, but at least my needs will get met. How about that? That's called mature politics. Let's grow up in our politics, people. And make sure everybody's needs are met. Then you start getting what you want little by little, but your needs ought to be met. You ought to be able to have good food, the best shelter, the best clothing. Might not be most stylish stuff, but that's on you. But no child should be walking around here in the cold without a coat. And no grown person either. Nobody. I don't care who you are, and don't tell me about broken people who behave as broken people, who are homeless or who don't have, don't have. I don't want to hear that. Everybody's going through something. Everybody's been through something. Everybody has had a raggedy day. Let's just each other, everybody. Think about that. Think about it. So I love you. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow. We're gonna have some more fun, and what a wonderful day. But now, as Senator Warnock said, we've got to get to work. He said we were on the mountain last night, and we sure were, and I was up for all of it. But now we're back in the valley, and this is where the work has to get done. You don't plant. You don't plant on top of a mountain. You go into the valley where the soil is fertile. And when you have more space, the mountaintop is real small. The valley gives you space to plant and to tend to your garden and to work. And then you start climbing again. And that's what we have to do. Climbing higher mountains, trying to get home. That's what Aretha Franklin sang on Amazing Grace. We're climbing higher mountains. We're climbing. So let's go on and become better, everybody. I love you. I can't wait to be with you. Love you, Lorraine, sweet Lorraine, my dear friend. Sending you all so much love. Miss Wanda, love you. Jewel, Laura, thank you for getting out there voting, girl. You know, come on now. You know, I want to say that during while I was on the air, but I was getting all wound up. Yeah. Carolyn, you said Reverend Dr. Senator Warnock's campaign did it. You know, ecclesiastical titles do eclipse all others, don't they? That's right. He's Reverend Dr. Senator. I'm not mad. But I love all of you, and you all mean to me. And just thank you for bringing me into your hearts. I love you all so much. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Everybody, like and share the show. Like and share the show. Let's talk. Everybody, like and share, and join me on the Santita and Friends Facebook page. Tell people all about it. Meet me over there. Join me over there. And I have a picture of me and Reverend Dr. Warnock. This is before he was a senator. This is about 5 years ago. Found it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I'd taken this picture. I was at his church, and we were having a good time. And boy, I put that picture up, and I'm so glad that I did. But I love you all, everybody. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. God bless.